Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 6 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you here. I'm Whitney Ward. Happening right now, the Spokane Fire Department is in a hiring spree.
They are hoping to make up for a shortage that's been made worse by the pandemic and the vaccine mandate. KREM 2's Cody Proctor spoke with fire officials today. She joins us now with more.
Well, Mark and Whitney, the Spokane Fire Department is looking to hire up to 40 new firefighters. That 40 could go a long way to closing the shortage gap. The Spokane Fire Department remains busy on Thursday morning, and if the department gets their way, it could get busier. Right now, the SFD hopes to hire up to 40 new firefighters, which is about 10% of the 379 positions the fire department has budgeted.
We're sitting right now at a really critical vacancy rate in our organization.
There's a lot of factors behind this shortage. According to Spokane Fire Department Fire Chief Brian Schaefer, the pandemic played a big part. And before that, there was no academy while they waited on the results of the public safety levy. Chief Schaefer says once it passed, they had a hiring process. However, he says that fell right at the beginning of the pandemic, meaning they couldn't bring the new hires on for a year.
All throughout that time, we've had people leaving due to retirement. Also from the governor's mandate, we lost a number of people.
Chief Schaefer says a number of the unvaccinated firefighters were hired back into accommodative positions, such as the fire marshal's office and in the dispatch center. In the meantime, the shortage has taken a toll on the department, with firefighters getting overtime to pick up the slack.
It's been exceptionally hard for us on a day-to-day basis.
They're working a lot. They're spending a lot of time away from their families, making sure that our community's protected.
Both Marler and Chief Schaefer says hiring 40 firefighters would go a long way to getting up to full staff. But it's not the only thing on their radar. The EMS levy is also up for renewal in an upcoming special election. According to the proposition, the levy will generate about $13.1 million for the fire department's budget of $57 million. If passed, the levy renews. If it doesn't, the chief says it could mean changes.
It could result in closed firehouses across the city. It will certainly result in a decrease of at least 80 positions, and that across our entire deployment system will definitely impact response times and outcomes.
Meaning come next week, the Spokane Fire Department will know if they'll be getting closer to normal or need to cut back. Now, voting for the EMS levy takes place on this upcoming Tuesday. Ballots have already been sent out. In Spokane, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
We want to get to some breaking news right now at the Idaho state line. Take a look. Traffic slowed to a crawl on I-90 near the state line over the past hour or so. According to the Idaho State Patrol, a multiple car crash in that area is responsible for the backup. But in the last few minutes, ISP has cleared the scene and traffic is starting to move in both directions, albeit slowly at this point. All right, let's talk weather. We had kind of a gloomy day today, but at the end of the day, the sun finally broke through.
We love the looks of that. We want to head out to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legou, who's in the Outdoor Weather Center tonight. It is Friday Eve, so of course we all want to know how the weekend is shaping up.
Oh, quite nicely. Here, look at this cloud. See how ominous it looks over downtown? Same one right over the top of us right here on the South Hill, and that's giving me a little bit of shade, and in the shade it does feel a little cooler. It is a cool 52 degrees if you find the shade. If you find the sun, it's a warm and mild 52. 50 in Coeur d'Alene, 48 in Sandpoint, and upper 50s in Wenatchee and Moses Lake, and that's headed for us as we get into the day tomorrow. A few more of those showers still lingering off to the north. Those are going to continue to dissipate. We're in the 6 o'clock hour now. Sun sets in the latter half of the 7 o'clock hour, so as that gets lower on the horizon, we lose some of the energy and we'll continue to watch those showers kind of fall apart. So, putting it in motion, that's exactly what happens. A few more scattered showers this evening. We dry out. Tomorrow we start out clear. And that means cold as well, but by tomorrow afternoon, a few more scattered showers, not as widespread as today, but we're wringing out the last bits of moisture in the atmosphere, setting us up for a nice weekend. So tonight, expect it to be quite cool with no moisture and no cloud cover, but by tomorrow afternoon, well, those temperatures climb back into the 50s, and it's the upper 50s for a lot of us.
The city's very angry, Nadine's very angry that her proposal didn't get rubber stamped by the continuum of care.
We have people on the street right now, and all of them lose in this political battle.
So tensions are very high right now as Spokane City officials work to find a location for a new homeless shelter. The city was forced to restart that process because of a conflict of interest.
Spokane City Council members held a study session today to discuss establishing a criteria for future low-barrier shelter space. Graham 2's Amanda Rowley sat in on that meeting and shares highlights from the discussion.
This proposed shelter criteria is the brainchild of Spokane City Council President Brian Beggs and Councilmember Lori Kinnear following testimony from Monday night's City Council meeting. Now, the criteria includes 6 elements which are subject to change after this afternoon's discussion. According to the draft version of this resolution, this is the proposed criteria for future low-barrier shelter spaces in Spokane. It includes limiting the daily shelter bed spaces to 120, but allow for surge space during extreme weather events. A dedicated space on site for local resources to help people transition out of homelessness, and a provision for 24/7 security.
It is not meant as a final copy. It's meant to elicit conversation.
In Council's conversation today, Councilmember Michael Cathcart expressed concerns with limiting the shelter beds to 120.
We would need at least 3 of these to address the illegal camp in East Central and have an opportunity for those folks to move to a different location. I don't know where you're going to find 3 shelters in the next few weeks. And so I think that puts us in a really bad position. The Trent Avenue shelter site was estimated to provide 250 beds. Cathcart believes that site could address the need for housing for those staying at Camp Hope. But some council members believe that's too many people at one site.
Yeah. That is what we were hearing, was people don't want to be jammed in, and we've seen 2 failures already with HOC and with the convention center.
No action was taken on this resolution today. In fact, the proposed criteria may change based on discussion from council members. The hope is, though, to bring this resolution to a vote soon. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
SPD arrested a second suspect involved in a string of catalytic converter thefts from late March. On Wednesday, police arrested Daniel Gurton at a gas station after he and several companions showed up at a recycling center to sell the converters. During the arrest, officers seized this car that was linked to the theft of 2 catalytic converters from 2 passenger buses at the Corbin Senior Center and a Honda Element. Police found a type of saw they say commonly used to remove converters. Gurton was charged with theft, malicious mischief, and attempted trafficking and stolen property. He was booked into the Spokane County Jail.
And the Grant County Sheriff's Office has arrested a suspect in George who was accused of assaulting 2 deputies. He was actually arrested in Klamath Falls, Oregon, when an Oregon State trooper stopped to help him when he ran out of gas. 33-year-old Francisco Javier Nunez was wanted for several felony warrants, including assault, theft, and failing to register as a sex offender. President Biden is continuing his trip into the Pacific Northwest. He actually just landed in Seattle about 45 minutes ago. He will stay through tomorrow after being in Portland earlier today. The president will participate in that fundraiser event for the Democratic National Committee, and then he'll spend the night in Seattle.
Now, tomorrow is Earth Day. The president is expected to talk about his clean energy economy as well as bringing down the cost for families, he said. Another big topic he's expected to touch on while in Seattle, his efforts to bring down the cost of prescription drug prices. Well, the Space Needle is celebrating 60 years. One of the most iconic features of the Space Needle, of course, is its architecture. Our station in Seattle talked to one of the engineers, Gary Curtis, about the one-of-a-kind project.
We didn't know it was going to be the icon of Seattle. Every picture you see about Seattle has got the Space Needle in it. People have asked me sometimes if I worked on a multi-story building. And I said, well, yeah, I did 5 stories, but the first floor was 500 feet in the air.
So in 1999, it was designated as an official landmark. The city's Landmarks Preservation Board called the Needle a representation of American aspirations toward technological prowess.
Good stuff right there. All right, still ahead tonight, local middle school students stepping up in a big way to help the community. Coming up after the break, how these students and their creation is helping police in the field.